Building a community center in the lower 9th Ward. We'll talk to some of the dedicated volunteers. A student-produced video highlights several groups working with volunteers in New Orleans. On this episode of Web Tips, we'll introduce you to a great site for disabled travelers. All these stories and more on Travel Television. And now on to our first stop.
Call it sweat equity.
It's getting warm already.
Members of Ginghamsburg United Methodist Church in Tip City, Ohio, are investing their labor 1,000 miles away in the future of the Gulf Coast.
You want to do the primer?
Many volunteers have come to repair homes ravaged by Hurricane Katrina. But Ginghamsburg has shown a remarkable dedication, sending 42 teams in the 3 years since the storm hit.
You realize that at any given moment, you can be in the situation that these people were in.
It's a 14-hour drive from Ohio, but the Gulf Coast trip is the church's most popular mission.
We don't call them volunteers at Ginghamsburg. That's part of our DNA. We call them servants.
Success. Going to school, you're surrounded by a lot of very similar people, and you don't often see what's outside of your own window.
75-year-old Margaret Russell is one of the homeowners helped by their efforts.
Y'all doing such a beautiful job.
Russell says neither her insurance company nor government programs came through for her, but this group did.
They gave me new hope and new faith.
Volunteers say doing repairs is not their only goal. They want to spread the word that this region's recovery is far from complete.
Some are estimated at 7 years, some are estimated at 10 years.
It's hard not to be overwhelmed and to think the work will never be completed, but people like us keep coming, and that's how it'll get done.
No matter the forecast, as residents face another hurricane season.
I will never forget what you all did for me, to help us, to help me.
In the lowlands of Mississippi, just an hour outside of the spotlight that shines on New Orleans, are the remnants of a community called Waveland, Mississippi. The hurricanes brought total devastation and destruction. Katrina Relief is headed by Kathleen Johnson, who has worked tirelessly as the director of this organization, which strives to help those who have fallen through the cracks. Relief assistance is complicated, and there is an endless ribbon of red tape that makes many of those who need it unable to reach their well-deserved assistance. A local police officer who had just completed building his home before the hurricane is one of the unlucky residents who were totally wiped out by the force of Katrina. His requests for assistance were denied by FEMA because only one home on each property was eligible for financial support, and his home was one of two on his father's property. Katrina Relief came to this officer's rescue by rebuilding the home. Kathleen Johnson uses her determination to weave together donated materials and land and the skills of enthusiastic college spring breakers, Amish carpenters, and faith-based groups. Travel Television visited the work site on the first day of the job.
We're here in Waveland, Mississippi.
At least it'll look good.
With students from the University of Nebraska.
Okay, not a problem, sweetheart. Well, then don't come out near the property.
Helping to rebuild houses
Next to the road.
2.5 years after Hurricane Katrina.
Hi, I'm Julie Dierberger. I'm from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. This trip we have brought 40 UNL students, faculty, and staff to Hancock County, Mississippi. This is our 5th trip. We've had about 300 faculty, staff, and students serve in this community since January of 2006.
I'm Jenna Busboom. I'm from Pickerel, Nebraska, and I came to the Gulf Coast with the UNL group just to see what the hurricane has done and to help out some people down here.
This is a service learning trip, and so we're trying to learn about the community, about different types of needs, different types of tools, and those sorts of things, and also through our service that we are performing to the community.
There's a lot to be done. Just driving around, you can just see all the different houses and all the different just places that still need to be taken, like the houses that still need to be taken down, or the houses that still need to be rebuilt. There's tons of them down here. Like we heard, there's only 20% of the houses that are rebuilt. There's that many more that need to be helped out yet.
The university decided to come to Hancock County specifically because of the devastation and the connection that we had to this specific community agency initially after the storm. From there, we've only developed relationships specifically with this county, and we've dedicated our service to the long-term recovery of Hancock County. We knew that when we began these projects, we didn't want it to be a flash in the pan sort of thing. We wanted it to be an ongoing effort that wasn't just over, because we knew it wouldn't be over right away, that this is an ongoing relief effort.
Well, yesterday we actually got to take down a house. We got to help in the demolition of a house, and I actually got to talk to the owner of the house individually, and he was so thankful. And I don't know, it made me know that I could actually talk to the people, and that our help down here is actually really helping them.
Since we have begun, we have seen progress, absolutely. As I said, our job sites have changed a lot, from litter pickup and demo to now, finally 2 years later, we're talking about rebuilding, which is a great amount of time between when the storm actually occurred and now. So we're excited to be a part of that effort and the future of this area.
Thanks, guys.
To see volunteer stories, go to www.projectkatrinavolunteers.net.
There's a lot you can do to take the wrinkles out of your next family trip besides unpacking quickly. Here are 5 simple tips. First, confirm your vacation reservation, including hotel, air, car, train, dining, and activity reservations. A few phone calls before you leave can save you from vacation stress later on. Next, organize the credit cards you plan to bring with you and order traveler's checks from your bank. Make a list of emergency numbers to call if your credit cards or traveler's checks get stolen. 3. If you are visiting a foreign country, order a small amount of that country's currency from your bank to take with you. 4. Pack as light as possible or consider shipping large bags, golf and ski equipment to your destination. There are services that will pick up bags at your home or at the office and deliver them to your destination by the required date. Finally, before you leave, check the weather at your destination. Just visit www.weather.com.
The Society for Accessible Travel and Hospitality, or SATH, founded in 1976, is an educational nonprofit membership organization whose mission is to raise awareness of the needs of all travelers with disabilities, remove physical and attitudinal barriers to free access, and expand travel opportunities in the United States and abroad. Members include travel professionals, consumers with disabilities, and other individuals and corporations who support the mission. Readers share their specific travel experiences with one another at the travel tips and access information on the site. For example, there is currently a review of a Carnival cruise on the site written by a manager of field operations for the Seeing Eye. The SATH.org calendar of events describes upcoming meetings, conferences, and cruises, and a sponsors page acknowledges organizations for their support in making travel for people with disabilities more accessible. Fun, safe, and exciting travel is no longer limited to the so-called able-bodied, and nowhere is this clearer than on the pages of the SATH website. Visit and explore.
This is Portofino, Italy's showcase of the Italian Riviera. The village itself is tiny, and I would suggest if it's morning, grab yourself a cappuccino and take a short stroll and visit many of the boutiques. If it's the afternoon, grab some focaccia at one of the local cafes along with a chilled glass of white wine and take in some people watching. So after you've explored the shops and the town of Portofino, I suggest you take a hike up the hill to Castle Brown. You'll be rewarded two ways. One, a beautiful view from this point back on the town of Portofino. And secondly, the ability to enjoy your dessert that evening guilt-free because you've already worked those calories off on the hike.
Here's a healthy look at a few things you need to know and to do before you travel abroad. First of all, the experts at the Centers for Disease Control suggest you consider vaccinations for your vacation. Some 4 to 6 weeks before your trip, check with your doctor about what vaccinations you may need. Discuss your travel plans and personal health with your healthcare provider. While away, make sure your food and drinking water are safe. Food and waterborne diseases are the primary cause of illness in travelers. Avoid buying food or drink from street vendors because it is relatively easy for such food to become contaminated. Don't eat anything that's not been well cooked and avoid dairy products unless you know they have been pasteurized. If you become ill after your trip, even as long as a year after you return, tell your doctor where you have traveled. For more information, go to www.cdc.gov.
I was lead author of a report recently for the Caribbean Tourism Organisation which looked at the impact of regulatory policy in source markets on travel to the Caribbean. I've been working with the United Nations Environment Programme, most recently on a publication that was launched at Oxford University, looking at tools and practices and frameworks for climate change in the tourism sector.
The real problem with green travel is just getting to a definition of terms. Everybody says they're green. I don't know what that means. I go to a hotel and there's a little sign on my bed saying, help us save the environment by not washing your towel. To me, that's not green. I take a cynical approach. To me, that's the hotel saving money on soap.
Right now, there's a lot of cynicism in the marketplace and many people are just not offsetting as a result of that. So an immense amount of work has to be done to build up confidence and also build up a regulatory framework for offsetting in the travel market.
Because I don't think 99% of Americans know what their carbon footprint is. I don't know what my carbon footprint is. I didn't know I had one until a year ago. So, you know, you have to make the information relatable and accessible and very local. And then you can get, once you get that concept, how could you not get on board?
Individual travelers. Now they are basically buying voluntary offsets at the moment, which is different to the kind of offset projects that exist for reducing emissions or in the cap and trade environment of the European Union emissions trading scheme for businesses and under the Kyoto Protocol for nations. So if we focus on individuals, then you're absolutely right. It's a myriad of confusing and uncoordinated, unregulated, and inconsistent information.
To understand where that money that they're saving is going in a local, direct way. And when they do that, when I get to connect the dots, guess what? I'm on board.
Onto any website of an offset provider or an airline that is offering an offset, then you'll find for the same trip that there will be a different calculation for the amount of carbon that you're emitting for that flight, and equally there'll be a different value put onto that carbon. If you were going to look at the best form of an offset, it's called a gold standard, which is verified by the United Nations. There are a number of non-profit organisations providing offset options and offset projects, and if you are looking to offset your travel, then you should be looking for a provider that is giving you a gold standard.
Nina Brainina, a student at Occidental College, produced this documentary about her visit to New Orleans.
More than 2 years after Hurricane Katrina, the city of New Orleans remains in a state of crisis. Thousands are in need of everything from social services to help rebuilding their homes. Our goal is to illuminate the variety of services that various organizations provide so that prospective volunteers can be more well informed. Greenlight New Orleans is a nonprofit organization that provides free, energy-efficient CFL light bulbs to any resident who requests them.
We go out in the neighborhood to all these homes and exchange about 400 to 500 light bulbs in one event. But I have so many applications that I can use, a huge amount of volunteers. And it's important if we rebuild the city that we rebuild it green, we rebuild it sustainable. These are the light bulbs and we just go and exchange whatever Dorothy wants us to exchange. We have now installed about 4,500 light bulbs. And we have applications for 18,000 light bulbs, and applications come in every day. So hopefully we will be able to put in around 20,000 light bulbs. And the energy savings for the city over the time of the light bulbs, over the lifetime of a light bulb, would be about $1 million. So your savings over the lifetime of the light bulbs, that's about 5 years. You will save.
I'm going to keep your number and you better not change it because it will burn out.
27,610 kilowatt hours of electricity. That equals to $2,990. And I think it's a wonderful experience for somebody to come down here and actually experience the true New Orleans culture, combined with doing something good for the environment.
One of the main factors that contributed to the devastating flood levels in the hurricane's aftermath is the degradation of Louisiana's wetlands. Besides providing habitat for millions of diverse species and improving water quality, every 2.7 miles of wetlands reduces storm surge levels by 1 foot. Louisiana loses up to 40 square miles of wetlands a year. The primary causes for this loss are human. Oil and gas exploration, levee construction, canal dredging, draining for agriculture, and deforestation all contribute to wetlands loss. The Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry has a program that employs volunteers to aid in wetlands restoration. This is a planting of bulrush on Lake Catawachi. Volunteers are taken by boat to areas where replanting will have the greatest impact. This state-organized program employs volunteers in scheduled plantings throughout the year for a truly hands-on experience in environmental preservation.
Residents come to us because they were displaced with Katrina or because they've fallen on a hard time since. Many of our residents have come from situations of domestic violence, and so they come to the shelter and are able to get back on their feet through a variety of programs that we offer.
In general, we offer shelter, like long-term shelter in a family-style environment, which means that everybody pitches in with chores, including the volunteers. Everybody cooks meals, everybody lends a hand. It's very much, everybody is each other's support.
Kitchen and dining room cleanup. Thursday?
Friday for Doris.
Friday for Doris. Thank you.
And then while the women are staying here, we offer case management, which means that we offer, while you're staying here, women get free eye, free dental, free mental health stuff, free like general practitioner. We offer them like a family structure, a structure of support, and we also offer them a cooking program where they can learn long-term skills. We just offer anything to get them back on their feet. The goal is always empowerment. The goal is always independence. And what we don't want is to fall to a situation where they're so dependent on somebody that they can't stand on their own 2 feet. And most of them are, but there's, sometimes people need a little help, a little boost. So we offer that boost.
Rebuilding Together New Orleans employs volunteers of all skill levels to help rebuild the homes of elderly, disabled, and low-income residents. Eva Alito, a construction specialist for Rebuilding Together, describes the types of workers they need.
Well, depending on their skill level, we'll put them to work painting. If you have the lowest skill level, We can teach somebody how to paint. If they know how to hang drywall, we'll put them to work doing that. Painting, trim work on the interior, hanging cabinets, anything that you can think of that needs to be done in a house. If a volunteer is willing to learn, we're willing to teach them. We just need somebody who's able-bodied and good spirit, and we can put them to work doing just about anything in a home that needs repair.
The Common Ground House of Excellence serves as a technical and legal resource center for the residents who are rebuilding. They provide a public computer lab, open daily, and free legal aid every Saturday with pro bono lawyers. They also employ volunteers to run various other programs.
The focus of what we do is providing technical support for other local nonprofits in the area and for the organization as a whole that we work for. We also provide technical support for community members. One of the things that we do is taking e-waste and turning, basically computers headed for the dump, turning those into functional machines. We've done that with about 150 machines.
We specialize in basically bringing grassroots media to the New Orleans area and the diaspora. We have print media outlets such as Breaking Ground newspaper. We have Radio Project trying to launch off the ground, Radio Uprising. We also have our website, and yeah, that's about it.
And now I can't work. It's been a real 1-2 punch, so I really appreciate this place. Just coming in to use the phone and the internet, read the paper, and everybody's so friendly. It's a good deal.
More than 2 years after the flood, the New Orleans public school system has still not fully recovered. Thousands of students have fallen behind due to a shortage of teachers and resources. New Orleans Outreach is targeting this issue by putting volunteers right in the classrooms.
New Orleans Outreach is a nonprofit organization that is trying to improve the public school system. So it's putting all of these volunteers as teacher assistants and tutors to strengthen the teacher to student ratio. I was working one-on-one with a student working on his reading fluency, which means we time him for a minute to see how many words he can get through. And at the time of the first test, he was reading about 3 or 4 words per minute, and then by the time at the end, he was close to reading about 80 words per minute, which is above passing, so it's pretty great. In the afternoon, we have yoga, we have karate, we have dance, sports, art. It takes an immense amount of patience, but it's probably the most rewarding thing ever. I mean, we never know when the city's going to be rebuilt and when all these buildings are going to be back, but knowing that each kid is improving and reading every time you read with them is amazing and so rewarding.
The more self-sufficient you are, the more of an asset you can be, because there are scant resources to be divided up between residents and volunteers.
I think prospective volunteers should have an open mind when they come down, not only just to experience a different culture and a different way of living, especially if you come from a very different background, but also with non-profit grassroots organizations, things tend to change a lot. So you got to be flexible. You got to roll with it, and just if something happens or a project gets canceled or moved or changed, you go with it, and you always try and stay positive and productive.
It kind of tones down the racism when you see the white young women coming to help us, and they're not afraid to come and help us because all the stereotypes. They're not afraid. That really tones it down and make me feel real good and proud, and more acceptance to the different races.
Get involved with locals, get to meet the people you're here to help, and take their stories home with you, and don't forget us.
No food on my table, and no shoes on my feet. No food on my table, and no shoes.
Everyone has a special interest or passion. How wonderful would it be if you could combine that passion with your travels around the world? That is what you can do with an epiculinary vacation. What the heck is that? Whether you want to learn how to make tapas in Spain, bouillabaisse in France, handmade pasta in Italy, or chili rellenos in Santa Fe, Epiculinary offers unique cooking vacations for all tastes and budgets. The options in North America and Europe are almost endless and include mouth-watering choices, all easily investigated and booked through www.epiculinary.com. For example, if your interest is cooking Greek food, you can click on the icon for worldwide choices and then select Glorious Greek Kitchen. From that link, you will see the entire and yummy itinerary, dates, and details. If this trip seems like a match, you can book right from the site. If not, then you can go back to the main page and scroll around through different regions until you find the destination and menu that hits the spot. Readers might be interested to know the site's founder's philosophy on choosing the most satisfying cooking vacation. Here are some of the questions they ask. Do you want hands-on demonstration? What is your budget? Do you want to be in a sophisticated hotel or resort, or do you prefer a farmhouse in the country? Do you mind driving and exploring, or are you looking for an all-inclusive package? Once you answer these questions, you can make the selection that seems to meet your needs and your appetite.
Weird truth. A generation that's tired of being lied to about tobacco. Tired of replacing the 1,000 customers tobacco kills every day. Tired of being a target. Today, tobacco becomes our target. These are the first of our demands. We demand a list of ingredients on every pack of cigarettes. All 401 poisons and 43 carcinogens. We demand equal time for anti-tobacco messages from magazines that accept some of the $13 million a day spent on tobacco advertising. We demand that all warning labels be made larger and more specific. Like smoking will kill you. Sounds a lot better, don't you think? As a generation united against tobacco, these are our demands. These are our demands.